Clint, welcome to the Business Leaders Podcast. It's so great to see you.
Yeah, great to see you again.
I'm very excited about this topic. And since we first chatted for a minute to make sure this made sense for you, I've got all these stories in my head about they should be using AI. Clint could help them use AI. The first example I had was a YouTuber who also sells coffee, and he had vertically integrated all parts of his business except the K-cup packaging. There's like a special machine that does that. And he now is selling his coffee on Amazon and needs a lot more volume and more than his K-cup packager can handle. So he had to go buy an $80,000 machine to do K-cups himself and said, we must sell many, many K-cups now. But now his whole system is fully integrated. He's responsible for all parts. And that made me think of you. And in a minute, we'll have you tell people who you are. Because when we first met on LinkedIn, you said, are you using and training AI for your business, executive coaching? And I thought, oh my gosh, are we there now where, I need to be training my dragon myself? I need to be using AI. And you've opened up my eyes to this world of, yes, we're there now. So please share with us, Clint, about Soar, about what you guys do. And then I have another question.
Sure. Well, Soar is an AI studio, and so think of it as like a portfolio of companies that is all kind of related. And so at Soar, the mothership, so to speak, we create core technology that helps enable AI applications for a variety of uses, and then we spin up subsidiaries that are focused on solving a specific problem within a specific industry
Oh,
using that technology. And so we've got 9 companies now that are using that technology to help people thrive in all areas of their life, whether it's at work or in education or in their faith or their civic engagement or with their family history or even develop greater friendships and things like that. And so these are the things we're trying to do is just help humans leverage AI in a way that helps humans flourish.
wow. Okay. So I mentioned to you when we were chatting before we began recording that I saw a 60 Minutes interview many moons ago where Bill Gates described going home to tell his parents he dropped out of college to start a computer company. And that one day there would be a computer in everyone's house. And his mother said, why would anybody need a computer in your house? Like the very idea, like, son, you're crazy. You should go back to college. Why would anybody need that? But I think we're at that same intersection that business owners should be looking at how they should be leveraging AI, because not only do you have to stay competitive, but it's so much more efficient in terms of headcount and marketing spend and time to market. The places I'm seeing it applied, from marketing copy and advertising to business plans for a second service line in your business. And you are helping people figure that out right now. So can you share with us how a business owner, the size of business owner, that it makes sense to work with you, but how they should be framing, this is how I add AI into my business?
Yeah, great question. And I love that analogy of Bill Gates kind of, having the foresight to know what would happen. I do think that there have been just a few tectonic shifts in the world that have just changed, the entire world in a blink of an eye. One of those was the invention of electricity. And to me, the evolution of AI to get where it is today and what's coming soon is on par or will exceed the change that was caused by the creation of electricity. Far more than the invention of the personal computer, as Bill Gates saw, far more than the internet and browsers. So AI is going to change everything to exponentially more than any of those have. And so it's kind of exciting to see. I think when you ask what it means for business owners or for business leaders, it changes the way they do everything, right? Number one, there's a lot of fear and uncertainty right now.
Mhm.
We come from an economy the last 20 years that I call the social and the search economy,
Oh,
because really the world is dominated by social media and search. When you think about all of the investment capital that's gone into innovation and startups, some ridiculous number like 80% of that was spent on Google ads and Facebook ads.
mhm,
And so that tells
mhm.
you the economy that we're coming out of. And the problem with that economy, the social and the search economy, is that we have largely been manipulated by that economy, right? Our data has been productized and monetized, so our trust has really been diminished in these systems. And so the problem with that is that now we're moving into the AI economy, and so my theory is that trust has got to be at the center of the AI economy, and it's not there yet.
Right.
And so, people are worried about, well, will AI replace me? Will AI control me? Will it, surveil me? What are all the ways that AI will be used to manipulate me the way that algorithms and social media and advertising has manipulated me over the last 20 years? And so we're trying to create a better world where, we can help bridge that gap of trust. And this is one of the reasons I don't think the players of yesterday, the Facebooks and the Googles, can possibly dominate the future of AI because and trust is the antithesis to their business model.
Mhm, mhm,
And so new players who lead with trust are going to win in the AI economy. And so when you get over that barrier, it opens the world of opportunity for business leaders to use and leverage AI in a way that benefits them. It's not a threat. It's not scary. And so what does that look like? Well, it means I think first and foremost that we as leaders who are human beings, we're human first, we get to be more human in everything that we do. Because what AI will do is it'll take all the things that we are asked to do at work that diminish our humanity, the repetitive, mundane, tedious tasks that we do and absorb so much of our time, we'll be freed from those. AI will just take those off our plate. And then when you think about what's left, it's the most human elements of work. It's the times and places that we connect one on one. Here we are talking through Zoom, way better than a telephone. We've got AI agents on this call. We're going to be able to connect as humans in a much richer way. So coming out of this, I'll have an AI that'll remind me the things about you that make you unique, the things that you share about your personal life, your friends, your hobbies, your interests, the things that really drive you. And so in future interactions, we'll be have a richer relationship because of that.
mhm,
And so my memory will be enhanced by AI of all the things that we do and experience together. But also I'll be coached by AI to be more empathetic, to be more persuasive, to be a better leader, to do all those things that I strive to be now. But AI will help me level up in those areas. And those are the most human areas of work. And so I think that's the part that is exciting for business leaders is you get to be the most human version of yourself and the least, let's say, mechanical version. All those
mhm,
things get to be offset. And what that means is that if you can just focus on, let's say, the 10% of things where your human talent and uniqueness can have its greatest impact, then you can 10x your impact on the world. Whether that's through greater productivity, profitability, and earning potential, or just simply having a message that reaches further and changes more lives. And those things are possible because of AI. So where do you start? If you're a small business, you can do a ton of things with AI today. You can amplify your social media, your writing, your email, anything where you're creating content can be 10x because of AI. For companies that are, let's say, 50 to 500, it's kind of our sweet spot who we work with,
50 to 500 head
50
count
to 500 employees.
employees. Mhm,
And so that's kind of our sweet spot because what we found is that these are founder-led organizations where the scale of the business starts to exceed the influence of that entrepreneur. And so they reach an inflection point where they say, what got us here was this amazing culture, this mission, and this passion for serving a customer and providing a solution that we really care about. And now that's being diluted because my reach as an entrepreneur is only maybe one or two levels in the organization. Once there's three or four or five levels, then the founder message gets diluted. And so what we help entrepreneurs say, let's use AI to reinforce your message, your secret sauce that helped you as a founder get to where you're at, so that you never lose that. Because that's why these big companies become disrupted over time is they
mhm,
lose sight of the innovative spirit and the passion for their mission that got them there, and they get disrupted by a new entrant eventually that has that in their place. And so what does that look like? It looks like reinforcing that message throughout the organization, making sure that AI is analyzing and supporting that mission and that passion throughout every process in the organization. One of the ways that they can best do that and I encourage everyone who's, regardless of the scale or size of your company, start recording everything.
Oh,
Because in the future, AI will be built on data, right? And it's here today. I mean, people are building really cool AI systems today, but within a year or 2 years, it's going to be so easy and so ubiquitous to have AI agents that are trained to do all those mundane, tedious tasks that your people are doing today. And if you don't have thousands of hours of recording them doing that job, you'll have nothing to train AI. So, the competitors that you're fighting today who are already adopting, basically these practices of gathering and storing and organizing data, including every word spoken across your organization every day, are going to be at a huge advantage. And so you don't want to be as a leader in a place a year or two from now where you have a gap in your data and your competitors are already training AI agents based on their data. And so do whatever you can today to capture and store data, including every email, every chat with customers, with each other internally, every conversation like this, capture those every sales call, every customer support call. Because when you have 10,000, or in our case, we're a pretty small company, we've got about 68 people, we have over 500,000 calls recorded now
oh
inside
my
our
Lord.
company from every role, doing everything from sales to support to leadership to planning to project management. And that data is so rich in order to train AI to support all of the people in those functions that without it, I just can't imagine where we'd be a year from now.
Is this why we're building server farms as fast as we can?
Yes,
Because
I mean,
think about all that data that you would store.
yeah, it's a huge part of it. I do think that one of the things that's going to change in the future that a lot of people are not thinking about is our relationship with the internet, right? So going back to the earliest days of the internet, it was called the ARPANET, and it was basically a wire connection from 9 universities to send packets of data invisibly over the web. And
Mhm.
then in the 90s, the browser was invented. And suddenly the web became visual. And we could see brands and we could see pictures and we could see colors and styles and designs and fonts and all those things. And so it became a visual first internet. But we're moving away from that quickly because the internet is going to be everywhere, even where we don't have screen, right? And so when you're
Hmm.
talking to Alexa or you're talking to Siri or you're driving in your car or you're, walking down the street, you've got a phone in your pocket, um, the internet will be with you there and AI will be with you. And so what's fascinating is that the device architecture we're going to need, the infrastructure to power that is going to be very different. To your point, it's going to require a lot more hardware. Whether it's data farms, which is a big part of it, I think it's actually going to move more to the edge, which means, devices that you hold in your hand or sit at your desk, or even like Internet of Things sensors and small devices that are embedded in everyday products. That's where the internet's going to live. It's not going to live in a browser. And so, what that means is that the people who adopt and get comfortable and invest in that hardware will have an advantage of compute power. So, imagine an entrepreneur in 2 years on a jog, right? And lightning strikes, they've got a business idea and it's a good one, right? I believe on that jog, an entrepreneur is going to be able to talk to a computer, tell it they want to build an app. The computer's going to say, well, what kind of app do you want to build? And it'll say, well, I want to build a travel booking app. And I'll say, well, what are some travel booking apps you like? And you might say, well, I like Expedia for this reason, but I like Kayak for that reason. And I like Travelocity for a different reason. And it'll basically start to build the application for you. The AI will do it with no software developers needed, and you'll be able to tell it, well, okay, build a landing page and A/B test it and optimize it for every individual. And every time someone comes to our website, pay attention to what colors and fonts and buttons resonate with them and individualize their experience every time they come to the website so that you're optimizing for every individual. So instead of having one website that everyone sees when they get there, there might be a million versions of that website based on a million visitors, all having a unique one-to-one experience, all
Wow.
powered by AI, which is able to capture that data and then implement things on the fly that we as humans would take days or weeks or months to do. And so that's the world that we're entering. And so people who have that data, who embrace the devices that can power that experience, are going to have an early mover advantage, and it's going to be astounding to see.
I have an early adopter question. I confess to being a boomer, so I'm a late adopter. I get frustrated when things change and I have to learn them again. But I did participate 3 years ago in an AI executive coaching platform, which collapsed in the middle of the coaching engagement of 3 months. And then the CTO left. I don't know what the breakdowns were. Now there's a development team offshore who's trying to come in and fix it. I ended up using email to complete the assignment. And we produced the results for coaching. So I saw so much promise about how that tool was so helpful. Twice a week, they would get a prompt, in the exact category we're working on, leadership or communication or whatever it was. And they stayed engaged because on their phone, they're answering a prompt that takes like a minute. And so they stayed in their coaching program and it was more effective for
Yeah.
them. We produced home run results, but halfway through the thing collapsed and we had to come up with workarounds. So I don't think we're in the early adopter phase where you have to live with a lot of mistakes or be really expensive with hardware.
Mhm.
But I'm just wondering, where do you think we are in the adoption? Is it now it's time to get ready and train because you'll be at a disadvantage in 12 months or 18 months?
Yeah. Great question. I do think we're still on the early curve of adoption, but we're starting to, for depending on industry, we're starting to hit that kind of mass market adoption.
Mhm,
When it comes to like chat experiences, we're well beyond the mass market adoption.
mhm,
I saw data that people are asking questions in chat experiences with AI, with let's say ChatGPT or Grok or Gemini. Um, about 22% of the time, they used to ask Google or search engines those questions. So we're already really catching up and taking a ton of that market share from search engines. So that just tells you a little bit about the adoption curve. We're kind of at that stage, but I do think even if people aren't deploying AI solutions today, if they're not gathering that data or connecting systems with the intention to use them for AI in the future, they're definitely going to be find themselves behind in a year or in a year and a half. And so, yeah, I see at the forefront organizations already rolling out AI, tools in a lot of different ways, both internally productivity tools as well as customer facing tools. And so I'd say every major organization is rolling out some sort of an AI solution for customers and internal,
mhm.
but it's like their first test or their first kind of
Yeah.
experiment with it, if that makes sense. They're not looking at it across, 20 different functions and really getting, sophisticated and nuanced ways yet, but that's coming in the next year.
I saw a little meme that showed two people on a date, and she asked the question, "What AI do you use?" So if you say Chat GPT, we can't go out together. I'll use Perplexity or Gemini or one of the other ones. And so I think there will be personal preferences, but I've also seen in the discussions online that Grok is better at maybe scientific data and ChatGPT may be better at general research data. And so as a business owner, working with someone like you can solve the mystery of, but what should I use and how should I envelop it in to my business environment? Because otherwise I'm making it up as I go along, which makes adoption a lot harder.
Yeah, that's a great observation. When ChatGPT came out, it was like this tidal wave of, oh my gosh, this is possible. People were shocked and people started to adopt it. It was almost an accident, right? So that's not really the first use case that AI developers think of when they think of building AI. They don't think of a chat experience, but someone at OpenAI said, well, let's put this in the hands of users in the form of a chat so they can kind of see the reasoning power and the memory and the capacity of these LLMs. But that's just like one tiny sliver of a use case for AI
Mm,
that, we're all excited about right now. I can't wait for people to realize all of the other, capabilities of AI, all of the other
mm,
applications and use cases.
mhm.
Um, because I think in the future, when people say, what AI do you use? The answer is going to be hundreds of different things. And the best answer is one that's totally custom for you,
Okay.
right? Because you and I could go ask the same question of Grok, and get the same general response, but you and I have very different context in which we ask those questions.
Mhm.
So my AI over time needs to evolve with me. It needs to understand what I already know, my level of understanding, the setting and the context that I'm operating in as an entrepreneur in the tech space and the types of businesses I'm working on. And yours needs to understand that of you as well, because otherwise we're going to get very generic responses and very limited value from those systems. Whereas if your AI sat in on every call that you have, and so it knew all the things you're working on, all the tasks, all the projects, all the priorities. It knew your kind of level of understanding of various topics and concepts and business areas and technology. Then every response that you got in talking to AI would be tailored to you and be exactly what you need, instead of being the same general thing that I might get. And that's the world we're moving into. And so that's one of the reasons that I say, hey, look, record everything. Because if your AI doesn't know you, it can't be customized to you in a really helpful way. And so, just one example in the education space, I've got curiosities in fields that I'm never going to become a master in, right? Whether
Mhm.
that's astrophysics or quantum mechanics or, biology or a number of other things. I'm not going to go back to college and get a PhD in those fields, but sometimes I've got questions that might be PhD level questions. I don't even know the syntax or the taxonomy or the
Mhm.
field, underlying premises to ask that question. So one of the things we've been playing around with is AI that can help transpose knowledge to your level of understanding and your natural language, right? So if you took a physics PhD lecture from Harvard University or MIT and
Mhm.
you were a seventh grade German speaker, how can AI help you get achieve, access and unlock that information in a way that answers your question? And it can do that today. It's pretty neat. You can basically get your answer or have a summary or have that lecture recreated in any language at any level of understanding in mere seconds. And so things like that, unlocking knowledge, but it all comes down to understanding where you're at and bringing that knowledge and that insight to your fingertips, meeting you where you are based on a custom experience.
I'm really glad you mentioned that story or that idea about a German native speaker. How do we adapt to this? I'm taking the plunge again and have joined another executive coaching AI platform. It's based in Paris.
Okay.
And so the syntax for like the assessments and things that we do with executives, it has a global feel to it. But I think our world is going global. I mean, so
Mhm.
many of the clients I work with, they have a development team or a marketing team or some kind of production team not geographically located where the person I'm talking to is. They're all spread out or they're in three or four different cities. And so I think there's an opportunity for AI to help things not get, lost in translation.
Mhm.
So that you're speaking to the team that's in Argentina, in a way they understand, and the team in Paris and the team in Mumbai and the team in Beijing or wherever they all are. I think AI could really kind of smooth out the sort of human translation difficulties. So, I think we can come to expect that. And I'm engaged in it now with this platform based in Paris.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's Google phones already that you can talk, and the person on the other end hears you in a different language and supports, I think, 38 languages or something like that.
Yeah.
But most of the AI, back-end cloud tool sets that, most of the LLMs, they support dozens of languages. Many of the transcription services can do real-time translation of hundreds of languages. So, I mean, that world exists today. Not everyone has access to it, but yeah, it's pretty remarkable what can happen. And even within the course of one conversation, there might be three or four languages spoken, and AI is getting good enough to detect those languages and connect and go fluently between Spanish and English and French and Italian in one conversation.
Okay, I want to meet the person who teaches the swear words to AI in all those languages. Isn't that the first thing you learn? What are the words I'm not supposed to say in
Yeah.
Portuguese? So, well, it's so great to have this insight from you and to be able to refer people to, well, if you're looking at embracing AI, start at Soar. Tell me, how do people get a hold of you and explore how they can be right in the curve. I mean, I think we're in the pocket now, whereas you say we need to be doing this training so we hit the ground running with this trend that is barreling towards us.
Yeah, it's a great point. We do have a big learning curve, I think, for most people to just stay in the loop. I mean, I follow a dozen newsletters that are, aggregating all the latest things coming out in AI, white papers and innovations and use cases. And so it's hard to even just for me to keep up. It's like a fire hose every day. We hire an outside firm actually to train 60 of our internal employees twice a week on the latest breakthroughs in AI and tools and hacks that they can do to be more productive. And so they get that 2 hours twice a week investment in training. And I learned things just by, looking at summaries and catching those. So that's a big part of it, just investing in education and being at the forefront. Yeah, I'm happy to send referrals for stuff like that if anyone has questions about it. I can be reached at clint@soar.com. SOAR, and our website is soar.com. And from there, you can see links to our 9 companies and different things we're doing with AI. Whether you're looking at ways to, enhance your faith or strengthen your family relationships or become a more engaged citizen in your local community, all those things can be assisted with AI,
Mhm.
and even just perform better at work. So it's great to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh no, it's so exciting. And to even think about, like the apps that help you read the Bible or pray. The Hollow app has exploded. It's Lent right now. That really across all the categories of human life, AI has some kind of, emerging solution to support you in it. So thank you so much. And
Yeah,
I'm excited that I'll be able to refer people to you at SOAR.
sure.
So until next time, we'll
Yeah.
see everybody.